Hey guys, I hope all is well. Thank you for joining me for this Truth Talk episode. In today's episode, I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Rico.
Hey guys, how you doing?
In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the dark truth about the WWE. I wanted Rico to be a part of this video as he knows so much about the WWE and actually helped me with the research for this video. The WWE has so much going on that I couldn't fit it in just one video, so this video might just have to be a two-parter. But for now, let's get right into it. The WWE is one of the most watched sports entertainment shows ever created. With millions of viewers for decades, the WWE has managed to develop one of the most devoted fan bases to ever be seen before. I myself used to watch wrestling with my older brother when I was a kid, and wrestlers like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin were my favorite. I was a huge WWF and WWE fan, and so was just about every kid I knew back in the early 2000s. To me as a kid, the WWE was just so raw and aggressive that it was exciting to watch. But as I got older, by the time I was in my teens, I no longer felt the same about the show. I am going to assume many of you on this channel watched the WWE at a certain point in your lives, or might still be watching it currently, as many of you guys requested I do this video. One of the first questions asked after launching my Discord server was if I can make a video on the WWE, as this person felt there was plenty of evidence linking it to the Masonic agenda. At first, I wasn't sure if it would be necessary to make a video on the WWE, but after seeing so many of you request this video, I looked into it, and I must say, you guys were all correct. I found so much questionable imagery and disturbing practices done by the WWE that prove it's just another Masonic company that's created to push Masonic programming to the masses. As much as I enjoyed the WWE as a child, I cannot deny it was a bad influence on me, and even though each show would begin with a disclaimer not to reattempt any of these stunts at home, me and my brother would always get hurt replicating our favorite wrestlers' moves. It wasn't just the extreme violence being acted out by these wrestlers that was bad for the viewers. It was also the storylines created for those wrestlers that often took things way too far. Add this to the countless, highly questionable wrestler passings and all the Masonic and occultic imagery found on the show, you can easily start to see what's the truth about the WWE, as it's far more sinister than you might know. The WWE legacy goes all the way back in history to January 7, 1953, when a company by the name of Capital Wrestling Corporation released their first wrestling show. The company was ran by a father and son duo by the name of Jesse and Vincent McMahon. Later that decade, the CWC joined the NWA, the National Wrestling Association, and Vince and his early wrestlers were a huge success over at the NWA. After some time of being a part of the NWA, Vince had a disagreement at the company, which prompted him to go his own way. This forced Vince to go on and create his own wrestling company called the WWF. After a few years of the WWF being its own company, Vince secretly re-merged his company with the NWA back in 1971, changing his WWF name to simply WWF, or the World Wrestling Federation. In 1983, Vince would once again separate from the NWA, taking his WWF company with him. He would then focus on getting his WWF wrestling brand broadcasted all over the US and eventually the world, with help from some very rich investors. This is when wrestling changed forever and started becoming the mega entertainment force it is today. Vince would eventually hire Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper to join the WWF roster of wrestlers. This alone helped the WWF make it to a whole new level. Right after this, the WWE would hire a couple of big-name wrestlers that kept on building the brand, like the Iron Sheik, Junkyard Dog, and Andre the Giant. Vince would steal much of his talent from competing wrestling brands, especially from the NWA. Around this time, Vince came up with a groundbreaking idea for his wrestling company. He wanted to host an annual event that would be compared to the Super Bowl, but for wrestling. He called it WrestleMania and almost bankrupted his company trying to create it. After risking his company for his WrestleMania event, it would end up being his greatest decision, paying off big and being a huge success for the WWF. Vince used pop culture to promote his WrestleMania event by hiring big-name celebrities at the time, like Mr. T and Muhammad Ali, to be a part of the first WrestleMania event. The WWF kept on growing, eventually making it to the Attitude Era in the 90s, which saw the WWF competing head-on with the WCW to see who has the best wrestling brand, with the WWF eventually beating the WCW and even stealing their wrestlers like Stone Cold Steve Austin. In 2002, WWF changed his name to the WWE and solidified itself as the biggest wrestling brand in the world. being the home of legendary wrestlers like Undertaker, Triple H, The Rock, Kane, and many others. This is what you may already know about the WWE, but the truth is far more sinister. A truth that we will be getting into shortly. But before we continue, I just wanted to give a special shout out to Private Internet Access VPN for sponsoring today's episode. What's a VPN, you may be asking? A VPN stands for a virtual private network, and its job is to keep your information safe while you're on the internet. What most people don't know is that every time you go online, whether you know it or not, you're being tracked, and even worse, your information is being stolen. That's where private internet access comes in handy. PIA helps protect your personal data and prevents you from being tracked online by encrypting your internet connection through their ultra-secure server infrastructure. PIA safeguards your information as you search the web. No need to worry about hackers and data breaches, as PIA has your back. This is exactly what I use PIA for. You guys already know that I have to do extensive research for my videos. Sometimes I might click on some questionable links that could be trying to steal all my information. But I do not need to worry, as PIA keeps my information safe. I just turn on PIA in one click and that's it. While I have PIA turned on, I can click on any website that I want without any risk. You can use PIA for other more entertaining reasons as well. PIA has this awesome feature that lets users change their IP location to wherever they want in the world. This allows the user to gain access to IP-restricted content that's only allowed in other countries on streaming sites like Netflix. So not only does PIA protect your data and keeps you safe online, but it also gives you access to more entertainment. By using my link in the description, you will get 83% off when you sign up today, and 4 months of PIA for just $2.03. You really can't go wrong with this deal. It's just too good to miss. Once again, I just want to give a special thank you to PIA for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the WWE. As entertaining as the WWE was, we cannot deny that it definitely had a terrible influence on the youth. Kids all over the world look up to these muscle men who were nothing but puppets on Vince McMahon and the WWE writers' strings. We often saw the biggest wrestlers promoting terrible morals to their hordes of young fans. If we take a look at the late 90s and the early 2000s, which is known as the Attitude Era in the 90s and the Ruthless Aggression Era in the 2000s, we saw just what the WWE had to offer its fans. The WWE had wrestlers like Stone Cold Steve Austin, who was always chugging his signature 2 beer, or like Eddie Guerrero, whose entire image was about lying, cheating, and stealing. We also saw how the WWE treated women and what their purpose was on the show. Vince built his wrestling company to massive heights, but at the price of his soul and the souls of his wrestlers. Nothing was going too far for Vince, as you will soon find out. In this video, we're only going to be looking at some of the things Vince is accused of doing. But if I were to go through all that Vince has done, this whole video would be about Vince. I think a full video on Vince McMahon is needed. So if you guys would like to see a full video on Vince, comment Vince below. The first thing we must briefly talk about is how Vince took advantage of his position in the WWE, using his power to get women to do whatever he wanted. At least 4 women have come out and claimed that Vince did them wrong and used his massive position in the WWE to make them do things they didn't want to. According to reports, McMahon paid in the tens of millions of dollars to quiet these allegations. This is why Vince publicly stepped down as the chairman of the WWE. Even though Vince won't be the face of the company anymore, it is rumored he's still running things behind the scenes. One thing that is obvious is that Vince valued money more than he did his own family and his employees, as he would often use both of them for ratings. Vince was known to routinely put his wrestlers at risk of losing it all, just for entertainment and profit. It was reported that Vince encouraged his wrestlers to take performance enhancers to bulk them up. Risking his wrestlers' lives for the show was Vince's method, and this is exactly what we saw with the passing of the wrestler Owen Heart, which happened during an actual match. Owen passed after trying to act out a stunt created for his character. Owen was attempting to make his grand entrance by climbing to the top of the arena and being lowered by a harness. While he was attempting the stunt, his harness ended up failing while he was 70 feet in the air, causing Owen to fall and land on the ropes. He was taken to the hospital where he would sadly pass. Owen's family would eventually sue the WWE, with Vince settling out of court for $18 million. Vince would later be found not responsible for the accident, even though he had encouraged and instructed Owen to perform the stunt. In my opinion, Vince was definitely responsible, as he put ratings and entertainment first before someone's safety. What doesn't make any sense to me is how little was set up to prevent this from happening to Owen. Usually when stunts like this are pulled off, they are highly practiced and procedures are done to assure safety. According to reports, Owen just dropped after his rapid release was triggered. They think it might have been triggered because he moved to adjust himself, which triggered the rapid release lever, but this doesn't make any sense. Why would his moving be enough to cause it to be released? And if this was the case, why didn't they notice this when Owen was practicing the stunt? To me, this doesn't make any sense, and it almost appears like Owen might have been taken out. Regardless, what happened to Owen was sad and 100% could have been avoided if he wasn't instructed to do this by a money-hungry maniac. Vince wouldn't learn from what happened to Owen, as he would continue to use people at any cost for his gain. Another highly disturbing thing Vince did was in regards to his own daughter, Stephanie McMahon. Often, these storylines would be controversial, but this storyline we're going to be talking about was just disturbing. According to Stephanie McMahon, her father Vince tried to convince her to play a storyline in which she acted out Vince was the father of her child. Stephanie claims that back in 2002, she became pregnant with Triple H's baby. Vince saw this as an opportunity to boost ratings, asking his daughter if he can play the baby's on-screen father. Stephanie refused, with her father then suggesting that instead of him playing the father, her brother Sean can be the father instead. Stephanie once again refused, which thankfully stopped this disturbing storyline from being acted out. This is the perfect example of how far Vince McMahon is willing to take things. It's obvious that Vince is a Freemason, and the WWE was just used to push the Masonic agenda. We can find so much open Masonic imagery coming from the WWE. The biggest wrestlers in the WWE show open signs that they took the oath. When we look at John Cena, we can see he was often seen displaying the Masonic 666 hand gesture. John Cena became one of the most successful wrestlers a part of the WWE roster and crossed over to the Hollywood movie scene. John Cena displayed this 666 hand gesture his entire wrestling career, so it's not coincidental he would become a huge star after leaving the WWE. As of recent, you can see just how much of a puppet John Cena is, as he was recently spotted in a skirt and heels for a movie role. John Cena was a puppet in the WWE, just as he continues to be in Hollywood. We can see the same with the megastar The Rock, who was the biggest wrestler a part of the WWF and the WWE. The Rock, just like John Cena, showed signs of being a Masonic puppet. He would often display the one-eye symbolism, and his logo was a bull with red eyes that looked very similar to a depiction of Baphomet. Just like John Cena, The Rock went on to have a huge acting career, and to this day, shows that he's a Masonic puppet with the one-eye symbolism. We can also see The Rock doing the Masonic square and compass hand gesture. A wrestler that was very open with the occult imagery was no other than The Undertaker, who was another very successful wrestler. His entire Dead Man Walking storyline depicts The Undertaker as an occultist. Undertaker also had a manager named Paul Bearer, who looked an awful lot like Aleister Crowley. In the WWE storyline, Paul is an occultist who has power over The Undertaker using his urn. In the late 90s, The Undertaker would create a group called the Ministry of Darkness, and this is when we saw Undertaker's character take the Satanism to a whole new level. The Ministry of Darkness was Undertaker's satanic wrestling stable that worshipped the devil. Undertaker would start showing up with a group of hooded lackeys, and together they would perform sacrifices and rituals. During a feud between The Undertaker and Stone Cold, we saw Undertaker talk about ritually sacrificing Stone Cold. In one match, they even showed The Undertaker ritually crucifying Stone Cold. In another match, Undertaker would then sacrifice Dennis Knight live for the audience to see. In this acted out segment, we saw Undertaker appear with his hooded members as they performed their ritual sacrifice. They tied Dennis to a table, and then The Undertaker carved the symbol onto him as they acted like he passed. The symbolism is right in the open, and it's no surprise, this is one of the times that the WWE was becoming a mega corporation. The Undertaker proceeded to ritually sacrifice a few other wrestlers, each time doing this disturbing imagery for the masses to see. When we look at Undertaker's wrestling entrance, if you look at the video that plays when Undertaker walks out, we can spot Undertaker performing rituals, and the moon is being shown to refer to moon magic. There's still so much to cover regarding Undertaker, so if you guys would like to see a full video on The Undertaker, comment Undertaker below. We can find occultic imagery in plenty of wrestlers, as it's obvious the WWE were pushing Satanism like most of TV. If we look at a more recent wrestling group called The Ascension, we can see them utilize the one-eye symbolism. The group's entrance displays the Masonic all-seeing eye, as the video that plays on the screen behind them shows a bunch of Masonic imagery. Another wrestling stable that was open with the Masonic imagery was no other than the NWO. We already know what the NWO represents, New World Order, and they openly displayed this imagery, letting the world know what was the purpose of the WWE. to bring in the New World Order. The NWO was once again a big part of the WWF roster, as it consisted of big-name wrestlers like Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, and Kevin Nash. The group literally called themselves the New World Order and had the fans chanting this like if they were asking for the New World Order to come. This is how they use celebrities to make the audience blindly follow the agenda. It's obvious the WWE is ran by a cultist, and the ritual sacrifices acted out by The Undertaker were foreshadowing the price the WWE would pay for its eventual success. Speaking about foreshadowing and sacrifices, we can't forget about the WWE legend, Eddie Guerrero. Eddie was one of the more popular wrestlers who was known for his Latino stereotype character. In 2005, Eddie was found unresponsive in a Minnesota hotel room after suffering a heart attack. It was a sad day in the WWE, with the WWE airing a whole day as a tribute to the fallen wrestler. What was strange about the passing of Eddie Guerrero was just 1 year prior, in 2004, Eddie would be in a match between him and JBL, when during the match, Eddie acted as if he was having a heart attack. JBL would win the match, and Eddie would be taken away in a stretcher. This was written in the storyline, but it somehow became a reality just 1 year later. Many people believe this was yet again another sacrifice done by Vince and the WWE, as Owen Hart passing never truly made sense either. In my opinion, I believe this is 100% a possibility. We know the Freemasons love hiding the truth in plain sight, and they're also known to foreshadow their sacrifices like we saw with Triple X Tentacion, Mac Miller, and Takeoff. It does appear that Eddie Guerrero could have been a ritual offering, just like Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit was another wrestler who passed away during the heights of his wrestling career. Just like Eddie, his passing was very mysterious, and it was reported back in 2007 that Chris had sadly ended himself and his entire family. The WWE went on to pay tribute to Chris Benoit, but later removing the tribute after they found out what Chris actually did. Many people online believe that this was yet another ritual offering done by the WWE, and in my opinion, it does seem so. The amount of symbolism and imagery that's hidden within the WWE, it's all over it. We spoke about earlier The Undertaker. You remember Undertaker during that Dead Man Walking era, right?
Of course.
And back then, you remember how he had this evilness to him, how they presented him in this, the lights would turn off and he would mysteriously appear, and he was supposed to be this dead man walking, and his manager was controlling him.
Yeah, it was actually what they used to hold was the gold urn, and it held some kind of ashes which held some kind of power over them, which goes from Undertaker and Kane, his brother. It's a real dark story behind that. But yeah, his whole gimmick. When I go watch him live, I seen him when I was younger back in Madison Square Garden versus Kane for the first time ever. And it was insane. I couldn't believe it. Like when the lights turn off, the atmosphere, it just gives you chills running up your spine. It's something you can't forget.
And I think that was the purpose of it, because I believe that they're trying to show what was really going, sneaking in little moments of it. For example, like you said, his manager would hold that urn. Just so happens that it looks like they modeled his manager after Aleister Crowley. And the fact that he's some occultist type guy who's having control over, like some voodoo control over Undertaker, you can see how they're rolling out that storyline, rolling out that occult magic storyline within the WWE, which I don't understand how it has any part in any of this. One of their biggest storylines, one of their most sold storylines, has this occult theme behind it. Like we spoke about earlier, it's directly tied to the occult. It's directly tied to Freemasonry.
To add on what you were saying about The Undertaker, I wanted to mention,
while the crowd is cheering and no one even realized it.
More evidence to the WWE being linked to the cult is I seen a post on the media that explained that Goldberg said, "I made a deal with the devil and I did my job, and now they owe me a retirement match," which he's referring to he's having a little trouble with the WWE and their team to get his final match like he requested. He said he did his deal, now he wants them to keep their end. It's right there out in the open. They're not even hiding at this point.
We see this often with artists as well. Artists will openly say, "I sold my soul to the devil," or "I made a deal with the devil," or "I don't have a soul." And it's the same thing with the WWE. Here's a wrestler openly letting the world know, openly telling them he made a deal with the devil. He held up his side of the deal, and now he wants the devil to hold up the other end. And he's referring to the devil as the WWE. The WWE made him compromise who he was in order to make money. We spoke earlier about the Eddie Guerrero situation. You know that is predictive programming. You know that's them showing us the truth in plain sight. You know that's them showing us that they were going to make a ritual offering, and Eddie Guerrero was going to be that ritual offering.
Actually remember watching that match live. It was on the SmackDown regular night after school, and I was watching the match, and the way he fell, I believed it. I was hurt. I was actually crying as a kid. I was younger, you know. Eddie was one of my favorite wrestlers when I was a kid. And to see that happen, I was so confused. But now, knowing what I know, I actually think that that ritual sacrifice was for Rey Mysterio. And if a lot of people notice, Rey Mysterio's career elevated extremely after Eddie passed. He ended up going on to win the Royal Rumble in 2006. Mind you, Eddie passed on November 13th of 2005. He goes on to be the #1 entry of the Royal Rumble and survives all 30, defeats all obstacles, and wins. He goes on to WrestleMania, headline at WrestleMania, and win the championship. And you know, they were really close friends. And for that, it's just, you know, if you notice,
I'd be right. That definitely could have been a ritual offering done by Rey Mysterio to climb, you know, to the top of the WWE like he did. Rey Mysterio is one of the most famous wrestlers within the WWE. He has one of the longest legacies. If I'm not mistaken, he's still wrestling 20 plus years to this day, you know, and that's something that's not normally seen within the WWE. We've seen a lot of wrestlers come and go, and there's only a very few that make it to the top, and they're the ones that are usually tied to these complex stories. And that's what I believe that Rey Mysterio did, honestly.
Also adding on to what we was talking about with Rey Mysterio, I want to include his son Dominic Mysterio. He plays a character as Eddie Guerrero. He actually has Eddie Guerrero's haircut. He does Eddie Guerrero's little shoulder shrug.
Eddie Guerrero is shown as the guy that is supposedly the father of this kid. Then Eddie Guerrero is shown in a match where he supposedly passes away. Then he goes on to really pass away mysteriously. And then, to continue the story, the kid ends up now being in the WWE, acting like the man that was ritually offered. Edge, back in 2011, he ended up having a devastating injury during one of his matches. And apparently he was told that he wasn't going to be able to wrestle ever again. You know, he ended up retiring, and they even inducted him into the Wrestling Hall of Fame. But then 9 years later, which we all know 9 is an inverted 6, he makes a return. And he doesn't just make a plain old return. He makes a return as the devil, brands himself with the GOAT. He brands himself, he starts selling merch with the Baphomet, and he actually has one match where he's literally dressed as the devil himself.
Speaking on Edge, if you actually go on the WWE website itself and you check out his merch, you can see he has shirts that show Baphomet on it. He has another shirt that shows him and his wife, and it says the GOAT couple. Like, you know, it's like playing right in sight. It's right in front of your face. You can see it. And everything he wears is red and black. He just, you know, he really puts it out there. It's there for you to see. For this year's Royal Rumble, he actually fought. He came out in a long red and black jacket, and on the side it said "Drink Your Blood" on the left hand side, and you can see the way it spells out Edge on the top corner. It was Edge, but it was shaped as the devil's horns. The beginning of the word and the last word had 2 horns sticking up, creating a face. You know, it was sort of resembling the devil, and it just is insane. It's just right there playing the sight. I feel like that was a strong reason why he made a comeback, because, you know, sometimes they can make the impossible happen.
Yeah, and it's very interesting you say that, especially the Baphomet worship was so open with Edge.
You know, it's always been right in front of our face. It's actually it's happened before. It's happening now as we speak. If you want to speak, we could speak on the Boogeyman. We could speak on the Demon Finn Balor. We could speak on Bray Wyatt and his entrances and his characters. If you want to get into it, we could speak how they all have demonic meanings. The Boogeyman wore a heart on his chest. He ate the worms, and he was just so evil. And all he said was, "I'm the Boogeyman. I'm coming to get you."
We can see the occult all over the WWE. We must remember the Masons are behind everything that reaches the masses. They have inserted themselves with anything that has influence. They use their created money with their symbols on the back of it to buy out every source of media that's out. The WWE manipulated hundreds of millions of people and guided them to a burning end. There's so much we couldn't go through in this video, so I might just have to do a part 2 for you guys. You can let me know if you want to see that below. We must remember that every day we wake up, our souls are at stake. And we also must remember to help those who can't see the truth find the truth. Well, that's it for this video. But before you go, I just wanted to once again thank Internet Private Access for sponsoring this video, and to remind you guys to use my link in the description to get 4 months of IPA for just $2.03. Thank you all, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.
I just want to give a special shout out to the Truth Movement members. I truly appreciate every single one of you. If you'd like to further support the channel, join the Truth Movement, or you can join me on Patreon where I drop exclusive videos monthly. The link would be in the description. Another way you can further support the channel is by checking out the Truth Fit store and seeing if you find anything you like. Every purchase you make goes directly to helping the channel and furthering Truth Records. Also, please leave a comment on your thoughts below and on any future topics you would like to see me cover on my channel. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you can be notified when I drop new videos. If you like this video, please leave a like as it helps other people find these videos. You can also find me on TikTok and Instagram and follow me there for more truth. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.